Hi, loves, and welcome to the With Love Always podcast, a podcast to help you live the life you were created for. We are your hosts and your friends, Bree
and Marissa,
and we're so grateful you're here.
We pray you listen and leave feeling more inspired, encouraged, and uplifted.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. We are so grateful as always that you are here and listening today. We wanted to make this episode fun and light and also on the topic of love. So we asked you guys over on our Instagram to submit some questions on all things relationships, love life, any advice, or even just opinions that we have on things regarding love and all of that sort of stuff. So we are going to dive into some pretty juicy questions today. We're really excited by some of the questions we have in front of us. So this episode is truly for all of our girls out there, whether you are in a relationship and you're dating, whether maybe you're going through a breakup, whether you are single just like me and you're in the dating world, whatever stage of life you're in and whatever celebrating love looks like for you today, this episode is so for you. So I hope that you guys are encouraged, maybe even entertained by our thoughts, perspectives, and just our advice on all things love. So let's jump right into it.
Okay, question number 1 is, what should I do when I feel like I never meet guys I'm interested in?
Bree looks at me. Literally, Marissa and I were just laughing because it's so funny because I feel like with anything singleness, dating related, like, of course, I have to be the one who answers because I'm literally still in that season. Thank you, Jesus. But also, come on. But gosh, yeah, so been there. I feel like when you are in this space, when your heart's desire is to literally meet someone and you're like, not to be unkind, but we've all been there, girls, where it's like, you know, we're out, we're looking cute or whatever, we're living our day-to-day life. And we're like, why is it always the guy that we're literally not interested in that is so bold and comes up and asks you out? Actually, I'm going to share this. I literally just remembered this. So this past weekend, I was on a walk with like friends, and I kid you not, out of nowhere, this man walks up, like interrupts a conversation I'm in with my friends, walks up, almost like blank stares me in the face, like robotic almost. And he was like, "Hey, you're really pretty. Can I get your number?" And it was literally,
that is so to the point.
It was so almost, I was like, is there a hidden camera? Because this cannot be real. And like, I wish I could, I mean, for those watching on YouTube, like, I'm going to try to recreate his face. His face was literally like, "Hey." And it just like destroyed me. I mean, no, I give him so much credit, but
maybe he should ask your name first.
Maybe he should say something else. And it was just like so awkward. But I think all of us single ladies out there, like, I'm assuming whoever asked this question, it's like you are referring to moments like this of like, why is it literally always the guys that you don't find attractive, that you're not interested in, that are so bold in asking you out and all that sort of stuff? So been there, feel that so hard. But I think if there's anything that I've tried to learn and a perspective I've tried to gain through that, because I mean, I'm still kind of in that. I mean, that's why I'm single. But I just like try to remind myself, like, whether it's like a brief interaction like the one I just described at the beach, or whether it's, you know, guy friends that I'm meeting and maybe I'm interacting with them a little bit more and they express interest in me and I'm like, oh, not again. Whatever it is, it's like I choose to carry the perspective of allowing that to be more of a encouragement to my singleness than a discouragement. Because even as silly as it may sound, it's like, let those moments be a reminder, a beautiful reminder, not an egotistic reminder, but like a beautiful reminder to like who you are as a woman, that you are desirable. And just because a guy that you're not interested in expresses interest in you doesn't mean that there aren't other guys out there who are secretly admiring you as well. Mm-hmm. And I think just allowing that to be a little boost in your confidence versus like tearing you down. I think I even see so many of my friends feel like actually honestly, like I've even seen friends after getting asked out by someone they're not interested in be like, am I just not pretty enough? Like, why are like all these guys that I'm just so not attracted to asking me out? And I'm like, whoa. Like, don't allow that perspective to warp your view of yourself. Don't allow that perspective or the encounters with men you're having allow you to think like, oh, it's because I'm not pretty. It's because I'm not desirable. It's because I'm not wanted. That is so far from the truth. But truly, the only difference between thinking that way is your perspective. And so I choose to really take a hold of the perspective of like, you know what, God, thank you for reminding me in this funny moment I'm desirable, and that there's going to be a man who desires me in a different execution, but in the same way that the random guy at the beach did. And thank you, God, for the guy friends in my life who, you know, through my interactions with them, though I'm not interested in them either, and I'm not attracted to them either, thank you that I get to have these interactions with really kind men that show me, hey, like this quality is going to be available in my person. If I'm admiring this in a acquaintance, in a friendship, or in an interaction with a man, then I'm going to choose to admire that or get to admire that one day in my person and my partner. So I really think all that's to say is like your perspective on the interactions with men that are not interested in you is going to be the thing that either fuels your singleness and fuels your heart and fuels a beautiful perspective, or it's going to be the thing that discourages you even more. So just be wary of your perspective, I would say.
Yeah, that's really good. And I feel like just as a reminder, I know you probably hear this so much, but it really is true. You only need to meet the one right guy.
Yes.
And so if you feel like, okay, I'm just not even meeting any guys that I'm remotely interested in, that actually is a sign that like you only need to meet your one person, and that's actually protection.
Yep.
And I remember when I was in high school and like a lot of my friends were dating, and I swear I did not meet a single guy I was remotely interested in, like not even a little bit. And I was like, this is it. Like, I'm going to be single for 10 years in the future. And I was actually okay with that. Like, I had come to terms with like, it's just going to be hard. Like, I don't know if I'll ever even find that. And then I met my husband and I was like, oh, yeah, you're one of a kind. No wonder I wasn't interested in other people because there was only one person that was for me in that moment. And so, yeah, I say that to like encourage you that you are being protected so that when you do meet the right person, you will be so interested in them and they will be interested in you as well.
Yes. So good.
Okay. Question number 2 is, do we believe in soulmates?
Dun, dun, dun. Do you want to start us off or do you want me to start off?
I want you to start.
So I do believe in soulmates. 110 billion %. Because I think for me in my life, and I think even with like the term soulmates, I think that word is so often used just romantically. But I think soulmates are truly relationships in your life that are so distinct and so familiar and carry such a beautiful weight to it in a way that other relationships in your life don't. So I can think of soulmates that are friendships. I can think of soulmates that are guys that I've gone on dates with. And I even think about, you know, when we met, like some of you guys may know our story. I'll save our story for another time. But I remember the first day that I met Marissa, I didn't even live in LA. And our interaction was so distinct. It was so like, we felt like we knew each other forever. And at that point, I didn't even live in LA. I didn't even think I was going to move to LA. But I remember thinking, I was like, God, I feel like you have a very distinct purpose in this interaction and in this friendship. And fast forward, I moved to LA. Here we are. And so all that's to say, that is one example of a soulmate connection that I felt in a friendship. I can think of different friends in my life that I've met that are girls that the role that they have played in my life is so distinct. And it's like almost this instantaneous feeling of familiarity that I had with them upon meeting that just carried forth in my entire relationship with them. That for me, it's like I can feel the difference in those relationships in my life. And even carrying it into dating, I have, gone on dates with so many different people throughout my many years of singleness in my 20s and in college and all that sort of stuff. And there are, out of all of my years of singleness, there are 2 people that I do think are like soulmate connections, just because my memory with them and the way that I interacted with them, the safety I felt with them, the love that I had for them, and how familiar they felt to me from the beginning is so distinct and stands out so beyond other guys I've gone on dates with. And so all that's to say, I do believe like there's like divine connections that we will have with different people here on earth. And I don't think that's just romantically. I think that's all sort of relationships, even like a relationship with your parent. Like I would say my mom feels like my soulmate as well, which she's my mom and I'm grateful because she gave birth to me. But and not everyone does have that relationship with their mom, but it's like the distinction that we share is really special. And so I don't know. I think, soulmates for sure. 100%.
I love that. I love your definition of soulmates because I think it can kind of get like labeled over a broad range of connections. So for me, I was even like, do I believe in soulmates? But then when we were talking about it before we even started to film and you were explaining what your view was, I was like, oh, absolutely. I can, looking back, definitely think of those people where it feels so just intentionally authored for me to meet them. Yeah. And so whether it's God distinctly brought them into my life or I just instantly feel like you know me without having to say anything, like I think there just are those people where I'm like, there haven't been a ton of them, but there have been those few people throughout my life. And it's so special. So
so distinct. So the next question that we have is, do you believe God has the one for you? The topic of the one. Do you want to answer first?
Yeah, I'll go for it.
Yeah,
I feel like this is honestly a tricky one, and it's one that I've gone back and forth with and wrestled with. Growing up, I always thought that there was the one for each of us. And then actually when I met my husband, he said something that kind of challenged that belief. He basically expressed that he doesn't believe there's just like one person for us, but it's more the one that we choose. And what he meant by that is like, he chose me and he's going to continue to choose me for the rest of his life. And I am the one that he chooses, if that makes sense. Yeah. And so there's intentionality in that. And I thought that was a really beautiful way to explain it that I hadn't really heard. And so I totally like agree with that premise. But I also think God is so intentional that he does prepare the one for us. Like if we feel like we are called to be married, God will help author our love story and he will prepare the right person for us. But with that said, even when you think of like people that lose their spouse when they're like 60 or something and they get remarried and they feel like they find the one again, I think to me that's just a reminder of maybe there are multiple ones or multiple people that God prepares throughout our life based on what our story is and what our season is. And that also gives me so much hope that you can't really mess it up. Yeah. Like just because you feel like you went through a breakup or you had to move to a different place and you feel like you missed out on the one. I just don't really think that's how it works or that's how God works.
That's such a beautiful way to describe it. And I agree completely. I think even from my standpoint, being single, and there were not plenty, but there were some candidates along the way in my singleness that if I wanted to choose, I could have made the one, but I was intentionally passing those opportunities or passing those prospective relationships in hopes that God, or in knowing that God does have another one for me. And so it is kind of like a dance because I so agree, whatever your circumstances are, whether you are dating and you just went through a breakup, or even people who are married and then divorced and then remarried or whatever it is. It's like we have the opportunity to love more than one person who may serve us in a different like season of our lives. But I do think that God knows who we are going to choose. And if we are, you know, patient and we're enduring it in the season of singleness, at least speaking on behalf of my season of singleness and my intentionality in my season, I know that God has not allowed me to choose any other candidates along the way because he does have one distinct man that he is waiting to prepare me for and waiting for me to meet. And so in that breath, like, there are multiple people, but God also has already set aside the one that I will marry. So,
yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like I could have chosen, but also I don't want to choose. I want God to choose for me. And he already knows who he's going to like intertwine my life with. He already knows the person that I will spend the rest of my life with. And so in that way, it's like, yeah, there is the one. So it's kind of like a back and forth, but
yeah, it's hard because it's like God is looking down and he does know who the one is for us. Like
I heard he knows
that John was going to be the one I marry and we were going to intentionally choose each other. And so I believe he orchestrated us together to meet each other in kind of a like crazy, super intentional way. So
we're just going to combine. We have a lot of single ladies out there listening. So we're going to combine 3 questions into one, or we'll just kind of talk through them.
Yeah, so they're how to cope with being the single friend, / what are the good pros of being single, / how to enjoy the season of singleness when you are longing for a relationship. These are all such great questions.
Yeah, wow. Really great questions. And I feel like I could speak into depth on all of them. I think first and foremost, how to cope with being the single friend. Gosh, been there. There was definitely a season of my life, especially like when I was in college and right after college, where I kid you guys not, I was the only one who was not in a relationship. I was single, but I was the only one who's not engaged. I was literally feeling that far behind. So I understand and I feel the pain, whether a lot of your friends are in relationships or whether just one. But I think just having to remind yourself, like, the thing is something I almost want to drill home, even with your singleness. It's like, I think so much of our singleness, we try to take into our own control. We try to put ourselves out there, which to an extent we should open our energy. We should do all that. But in some, like, your singleness in ways, if you really are waiting patiently for the best blessing in your life, it's kind of out of your control. My singleness is out of my control. And I say that because if it were in my control, I would already be married. But because it's not my control, because it's in God's control of who he's bringing to my life, and I literally have no say for when I'm going to meet my husband, truly, like, the only thing that is in your control in the season of your life of being single is your perspective. And so I think for myself, like, a way that I've encouraged myself in my seasons of singleness, it's been multiple seasons, fall, winter, summer, over and over and over again, over and over again. I just like have to remind myself, and I speak over myself of, okay, God, I am choosing to believe that the reason why you haven't given me the gift of a relationship yet or the gift of marriage yet is because what you're preparing is so good, and you are making me wait because you are preparing such a beautiful big gift. And I'm choosing to believe that the areas that God is making me wait in is the areas he's preparing me for the most. And so when I frame it from that perspective, and you, even with that perspective, it's like that perspective is for you and for you alone. Like, you cannot compare your story. Like, I can't compare my story to Marissa, who got married at 21. Like, if I were to do that, oh my gosh, your head will just be in a spiral of like, God, like, why would you allow someone to have so many more years of marriage, like, under their belt than I might have? Like, you just can't do that. The only thing you can control is your perspective on yourself. And I think that also speaks into the longing for the relationship. I think you can both dance with the desire for a relationship, but also the love of being single. I'm never going to sit here and tell you guys that I don't long for a relationship. Y'all know first and foremost that I do, but also that doesn't take away from the joy that I have presently in front of me. And I think that kind of goes into the pros of being single. I truly, as someone who is kind of like just coming out of a little bit of a breakup-ish moment, one of the pros of being single that I started realizing even when I was like in the midst of being with someone I cared about so deeply is, whoa. It is so wonderful having all my time to myself to literally not have to show up for anyone else. And that sounds selfish, and it is. And I think that is actually God's intention with singleness, is having this time to be selfish with your time, selfish in, and I don't even like that word because I think it can have negative energy to it, but just you have so much time to invest in yourself. You have so much time to decide, what do you love to do? What do you want to fill your time with? What is your emotional state? Like, I don't have to nurture anyone else in this present moment, which means I just get to nurture myself and my heart so much more. And I think I learned through my recent experience of the way that my attention began to be divided in a beautiful way, in a way that I loved, and in a way that I cannot wait to experience with my person. But in the ways that your attention starts getting divided, it's like that naturally subtracts from time for yourself. Mm-hmm. And it naturally subtracts from, giving all my time to my passions, into my friendships, into even my like self-care time. I would sacrifice a workout or sacrifice this or that to make sure I prioritize my person. And I think knowing that that was such a fresh experience for me and kind of being back in the singleness realm and having that freedom and having that time in my hands it's really a treasure. And it's something that I've said in an episode before, the hope is that you will be married for the rest of your life. And so reality is, for however many years you've been single, it is going to be shorter, your time of singleness, than the time of your life you'll be married. So embrace it, because this season's actually way shorter than the season of a lifetime of marriage. And so I hope I kind of touched a little bit on all of those things. Like I said, I could speak so extensively on all of them, but yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, that's really good. I love what you said about like the season being fleeting, because I think when we see it as, so many people view their singleness as, I'm going to stay like this forever, and it feels like eternity. But if you switch your mindset to it's a fleeting season, you'll start to actually cherish all of the little like moments and details.
Yeah.
And that reminds me of anytime I talk to friends that have kids and have children already, anytime I talk about, oh yeah, we're thinking about that and we're getting to that stage, and they're like, honestly, we love being parents, but like no rush. Like, do not feel rushed at all. I feel like anyone in that season is like, enjoy this. It's so short. And I feel the same being married. I'm like, enjoy your singleness. It is so short and fleeting and rare, and it's something to be treasured. So I hope that, I know that's probably like can be easier said than done, but just as a reminder, just try to think of it as fleeting. And if you knew you were going to meet your person in 6 months, like how would you be spending your time? And start embracing and living like that, living like time is short and you want to fully steward and serve this season well.
That's so good. The next question is how to not be jealous of friends who get asked out more than you. And wow, that is another dagger to the heart. I think every girl knows what that feels like at one point or the other, I can even think about times when I was in high school and I would like look at the really, really popular girls and I felt like they were getting all the attention. And I remember thinking, why don't guys like look at me that way? Or why don't guys desire me in that way? And it is such a defeating feeling no matter what stage of life you're in, whether you are in high school or whether you're in college or in your 20s or beyond. I know the pain of that. I think we all do. But I would say truly like something that I've had to learn for myself is that you cannot allow your worth and the metric of your desirability to be measured by how frequently you're being asked out. Because I have learned, you guys, those things are not correlated. I don't care what dating says. I don't care what the world says. The frequency in which you get asked out and the frequency that men give you attention and your worth and how desirable, how beautiful, how wonderful you are, there's not a correlation. And do not let any experience or observing a friend getting asked out 1 billion times allow you to believe otherwise. And this is why I've learned that the hard way through having to retrain and unlearn my own mind. I have found for myself, the more I've endured my 20s and the more that I actually know myself better, I'm more confident in who I am. I'm more sure in who I am. I'm more secure in who I am. I have a greater sense of self the less that I've actually been asked out. And the reason being is because I'm honestly walking like a wife. I'm not walking like a girlfriend. And
that's good.
So I think the amount of men that are truly intimidated by the prospect of even asking me out, and it's not even a conscience intimidation. I think it's like subconsciously, energetically. Mm-hmm. And this is not to say this is true of your friend, whoever is listening to this, but I think sometimes like the friend that gets asked out the most might sometimes, not always, be putting off the energy of they're open and they're maybe what they want is not exactly as intentional as what you want. And so maybe that's also opening a doorway for them to receive more attention because the stakes that are there are not as high versus someone could be looking at you and being like, whoa, this girl is carrying herself like a wife. And that could just like automatically just be shutting down men in the subconscious from even approaching you in the first place. And like, I have seen that for me because I even went through seasons of my life in my 20s where I kid you not, I like would be lucky to go on one date in an entire calendar year. And I remember thinking, what's wrong with me? But then I realized it's not that there's anything wrong with me. It's that I'm actually walking in the ways of a wife and I'm such a high value woman that God is literally shielding me and protecting me from getting asked out from men whose intention is not the same as mine. And so, yeah, all that's to say, I don't even want to say do not feel discouraged because you have every right to feel discouraged. But once again, I think with so much of what we've even shared so far in this episode, it really is your perspective on the circumstance. And when you can believe that the reason why you're maybe not getting the interest that you're watching everyone else around you get is actually because you are being shielded and sheltered from men who actually aren't even worth your time in the first place, you wouldn't even want their breath in your direction, probably. Like the frequency of those men, like how many of them are actually quality men? Like probably not that many, and sometimes none at all. Mm-hmm. And so truly it's like a saving of your time. It's a saving of your energy. It's a saving of your capacity. Because reality is, even if all these men that are asking out your other friend were to come your way, you being the high value woman you are, you probably wouldn't even want any of them. So just completely deconstruct the metric that your worth has any correlation to how many times you're getting asked out, because it's not true. There's no crisscross here. I promise.
That's so good. And I've also seen that the frequency of dates you go on does not increase your likelihood of getting married.
Yeah.
Like there actually is surprisingly not a correlation. I know so many people that have had literally one boyfriend and now they're married from that person. And so I just think you can't look at those metrics. Like it doesn't make your friend any more likely or less likely. It just truly is all a part of the process.
So true.
Next question is, I feel so much chemistry with a guy, but our morals don't align. What do I do? I've heard this from so many friends.
Yeah, are you trying to get to me?
Actually, I wasn't thinking of you, but probably.
I believe I've said it in an episode before, and I will say it a million times over and over again. Character over chemistry.
Say it with us, ladies.
Say it with us. Say it out loud. Let me tell you, girls, and the one guy that might be listening out there. Yeah, character over chemistry. Like, I cannot repeat it to you guys anymore, emphasize it anymore. I have been there. I'll put both of my hands over my heart. I have pursued the chemistry. I have pursued the insane attraction. I have pursued the guy that makes me feel some type of way. But there's just a few little things that are a little off, whether it's our morals or whether it's our lifestyles or whether it's this. Take it from me. It's not going to work. And I know that that's just like a straightforward answer, but truly, I would encourage anyone to save themselves the heartache, because the chemistry, it may feel like it's only amplifying, but we always hear it. It's going to fade. It will fade. And the foundation is going to be built on that person's character and on your morals. And if those things don't exist, you are going to grow increasingly dissatisfied. And you're actually going to watch that from that place of resentment and dissatisfaction. The chemistry is actually going to go to zero. And you're not going to be able to be sustained, and you're not going to feel fulfilled. You're not going to truly be meeting your heart's desire. So literally, my girl, walk away. Just walk away, which is so hard. It's actually the most painful thing. Been there. We've all been there.
It's really tough. Yeah, I cannot emphasize enough that chemistry is so fleeting. It leaves as quickly as it comes.
Yeah.
And in that moment, it might feel like, oh, this could last forever. I promise you that cannot sustain a marriage. Like, when life gets hard, chemistry is not going to be what sustains that marriage and keeps you guys together. It's going to be character, but also there's a whole nother level of just like genuine friendship and intimacy that can be built over time. And that will become your new metric of chemistry. And you will kind of, I think if I've learned anything in being married, it's that chemistry can be created through other things. It doesn't need to be this like magical feeling when you just meet somebody because you have a meet cute and it feels like a movie. There is so much more to it, and you can create that feeling. But because of that, ultimately, it's just not going to be what sustains a relationship. So it can be deceiving. Honestly, it's so tough, but you just gotta be very weary of chemistry.
Yeah.
I think chemistry is like the great deceiver in relationships.
Oh yeah, that is a powerful statement. And I will say, it's like, and it might not feel this way, my girls. It might not feel this way. But let me just say that making out with someone, whatever way you're measuring this chemistry, making out with this person, I'm assuming that's what we're talking about, you know? And that chemistry, like, is so bare minimum. Like, that is so bare minimum. And to be measuring your worth and your value and your satisfaction by the way that you're kissing someone or being physical with someone, like, even when I say it out loud, like I said, because I have been there, I know what that's like. It is so the bare minimum. It's like, what are the things that are going to matter beyond, like, okay, actually, this is what I'm going to say. This just came to my mind, and I remember saying this even in my last, like, relationship. And one of the most important things is, if you were stuck in a room with this person and you had to sit on the opposite side of the room, you could never touch this person, could never hold hands, could never lock lips. And not only that, but you're blind. You can't even see this person. Is this the person that you would want to be locked in the room with? Would you still laugh? Would you have things to talk about? Would you be able to open your heart up to this person? If you were blind, would you choose this person? The answer is no. He's got to go.
It's a good metric.
Yep. Next question is, my boyfriend and I recently broke up and feel so lost and confused. How do I bounce back? So this one is a really hard one, and I feel like even me reading it, I have to take a deep breath for myself, because recording this or sharing this episode and having it go live on Valentine's Day, but also in the same breath maybe experiencing the loss of someone that you really loved and feeling so lost, like I feel that pain. And that is something that even with this Valentine's Day coming up for us right now recording, it's a little ways out, but I'm not going to lie to you guys. I have been thinking about that. I'm like, I'm low-key a little bit sad, girl, that I'm like not with the person that I was with this upcoming Valentine's Day. So I share that to say, I feel you. I see you. You're not alone. Like in this friendship, I empathize with you. But I think like truly, I think the bounce back is like sometimes not even the right way to like view it. It's like, I don't think we're meant to just bounce back. I do think we're meant to feel, process, experience the emotions. And I think we're meant to heal. That's what we're meant to do. We're not meant to bounce. We're meant to heal. And I think healing takes time. And yeah, I could go on like a whole tangent. I was actually driving over here and I was like listening to this song, and the title was literally titled Healing Takes Time. And so I even want to just speak that over anyone out there who's going through a breakup and you just feel like anxious and eager of like, why am I not over it yet? Like, why haven't I bounced back? It's going to take time and just having to love yourself through that. But I even think for myself, like something that I'm just filling my time with more abundantly is truly like my girlfriends and my friendships, and allowing my friends to meet me and love me and listen to me and encourage me and speak life into me in a way that they were doing always, but in an even deeper, more intentional way. Like giving space for people to know that, hey, my heart kind of hurts today. Like, can we go on a walk today? Or can we talk about it? Or can we actually not talk about it? Or like, you know, I think just allowing people to be there for you. There's really no perfect solution to that heartache or to that pain, but I would just encourage you to not put the pressure, especially on the day of love, Valentine's Day, to believe that you just have to be over it and to believe that that is just the recipe for your happiness. I think for myself, like feel the stings, feel the emotions, lean on the people who are your front row friendships and just are ready to love you and to be there and provide for you. But also just know that it's just a process, and like loving someone and then letting someone go is hard. So let it also be hard. And also like, even in light of Valentine's Day, like love has so many forms. Love is not just romantic. Like going into this Valentine's Day, I don't have a romantic love, but I have the love of Marissa. I have the love of you guys. I have the love of other friendships in my life. I have the love of my family. I have the love of so many different moments. I have the love of the walks that I go on. I have the self-love, that the ways I take care of my body. And so I think there's so many forms of love that you can lean on in the midst of a breakup.
Yeah, that was so perfectly said. Okay, so one of our final questions is, how do you deal with hard conversations in a relationship/marriage? I feel like hard conversations are never easy. I mean, it's literally in the name, hard. But the longer you wait, the harder it will get, and the more it will build, and the more emotional it becomes, and it will snowball. So I would say the best thing you can do is, when you are feeling something building, when you are feeling like you need to have a conversation, when you are feeling like your partner is not on the same page with you, you just have to realize that the kindest thing to do is to let them know where you're at. And I would say remove the emotions when you are having any kind of tough conversation, whether with a friend or a partner. I always just try to take a second to make sure that, okay, am I in a clear headspace? Like, am I not feeling emotional right now? If I'm feeling emotional, let me process it by myself. But I need to come to the person and in a very calm, peaceful manner, just express to them where I'm at and listen to them. Let it be a conversation. Don't let it just become a laundry list of all the ways that you feel like they're falling short. And just invite them into that conversation, and for you guys to reach a solution together. And that's how relationships are formed. They're truly transformed, and the foundations of them are built in hard conversations. I've seen that take even my husband and I, for example, I feel like what really transformed us and prepared us for marriage was learning how to have tough conversations early on. Yeah. And when you can learn how to do that, it is so empowering for the relationship, and it creates such a level of intimacy. Like, you feel so close and so safe to the person. So yeah, I mean, I totally empathize, because it never is easy, but it will be so, so worth it.
Yeah. I think I have two thoughts on this. And I think this can also be evergreen, whether, you're in a relationship, marriage, or whether you're dating someone, or whether it's a friendship, even if we want to go, all forms of love and all forms of, dynamics in our life. But I think something that, honestly, one of the most beautiful things that I learned from my previous relationship that I was in is truly like the power of that communication. And something that we would always say is like, when we were kind of in a little tiff or like little, uncomfy conversation, we would always remind each other of like, we're on the same team. Mm-hmm. It's not you against me. It's like us together against whatever the problem is, whether the problem was my own insecurity or whether the problem was something he said or like whatever it is. It's like we as a team are trying to come to a resolution and come to peace of mind. And I think that like when you go into a hard conversation of, hey, like I am not against you. I am not trying to give you a reason to defend yourself against me. Like, I love you so much that I'm willing to make myself uncomfortable and myself vulnerable to express maybe the ways that I've been hurt. And a formula that I like always use in conflict is a formula that sounds so serious, but it truly is like the way that I always speak in confrontation and in conflict is when I'm addressing someone who maybe has hurt me, or whether it's an action, a word, or a question mark that's lingering, I always say, it may not have been your intention, but this is how I felt and this is how I received it. But I know that you love me and I know that your intentions are pure. So can we just talk through that? And I think when we address it of like taking that ownership of, that's how I received it, and that is what it brought up in me. That's what it triggered in me. That's what hurt me. But I want to assume that that was not your intention. Let's talk through it. I think that formula, honestly, is such a saving grace because it really allows the other person to not feel like you're just coming at them and you're like, yeah, why did you do that? Why did you say that? Like, this is that. That is just how you received it. And not always. Sometimes that person really is at fault and they have ownership to take of. But I think we have to remember that oftentimes conflict actually exists because of the perception of what we believe the other person's intention was. And I know for myself, like there's times where I have like brought something up of like, hey, when you shared this or when you said this really hurt me, or this action really confused me. I just want to let you know, like, that's how it made me feel. And when the other person explains like, oh my gosh, like I didn't even think twice about that comment, or I couldn't have even have imagined that would have hurt your feelings. I think it provides clarity, and it also just reveals that sometimes the conflict that we feel is so internal, but that's why it's so necessary to have those conversations. So hopefully that's encouraging for anyone who needs to have a hard conversation out there.
Okay, so since we're obviously on the theme of Valentine's Day, we're going to do a Valentine/Galentines themed this or that. First question is, would you rather have a fancy dinner date or a cozy home-cooked meal on Valentine's or Galentines? You could do this with your girlfriends.
Oh man, this is so hard. I would actually say, I think I lean towards like, I love being cozy, I love being at home. But I think because I do that more frequently, I think if I were to go on a date on Valentine's Day, I would love to go on a romantic dinner out. So that would be my answer.
Honestly, same. I think cozy home just feels familiar.
Yeah.
Also, my husband doesn't really cook a ton. And so I'm assuming the cozy home cooked meal would be something I'd be making. So for me on Valentine's Day, I want to get myself a nice meal out.
Yeah.
That sounds really nice.
You're like, pass it on to the chef, please.
Give it to the experts, please.
Yeah.
Or you know what would be cute if we did do a cozy night at home is to get like takeout. I think that would be fun.
Yeah, love that.
Okay, next question. Would you rather receive roses or chocolate?
Roses, for sure. I love flowers so much. Like, yeah.
What color?
Honestly, I love all colors. Like, I don't discriminate against the colors. Yeah. And I say that because, like, I buy myself chocolate every week. Like, I don't buy myself roses every week, so I want roses.
Yeah, that's so true. I feel like I have chocolate every single day.
Same.
But I haven't had roses in a while.
Yeah.
Pups, what are you doing?
I actually did buy myself roses this week. They were like literally $25. They were kind of expensive, but I bought like pretty pink roses and I'm obsessed.
I feel like you have to go to Trader Joe's. They have the best.
They do.
Flowers.
They do. I haven't been back to Trader Joe's since my phone got stolen.
Oh, I guess that is traumatic.
Yeah, that's a story for another time. I haven't been back to Trader Joe's because my phone got stolen out of my purse at Trader Joe's. I don't remember if I shared that on the podcast, but
that is...
I'll go back for their flowers one day.
Okay, Galentine's Day or Valentine's Day?
Galentine's Day, baby.
I feel like this might surprise people, but I'm not gonna lie. I love Galentine's Day.
It's so fun.
I've loved the holiday of Valentine's Day since I was like in elementary school, and you would exchange the little like, what were they called?
The like notes.
Yeah, the little like candy grams.
Yeah, I don't know what they were called, but they were so cute.
They were so cute, and I loved it then. And I would always make my friends, like all of my girlfriends would come over. We would have the best time. And I think something that's kind of like not a myth, but I think sometimes when you're single, you like put so much pressure on Valentine's Day. And a lot of times for couples, like even my husband and I, for example, we have date night every week. So Valentine's Day doesn't really feel super different. It's just like another date night. But Galentine's Day is like once a year, and it actually is so fun. And girls go so all out. Now, I mean, even last year, I went like all out and had a Galentine's Day party at our house. And it was so fun. Also, my husband's going to be gone this Valentine's Day.
Oh, I
so sad.
Realize that.
But
dang.
It's all good. Okay, next one is romantic movie or comedy.
Romantic movie. I laugh at myself all the time. I want to cry. I want to cry and I want to feel some type of way.
That's so funny. I feel like I would actually, if I was single, I would lean towards comedy because I like wouldn't really want to get too in my feels.
I love being in my feels.
Honestly, and I don't know why. Like, I should say romantic movie, but maybe a rom-com. Maybe like not like I'm not gonna watch The Notebook. But I would do like a cute, lighthearted rom-com. That's what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Okay, would you rather wear pink or red on Valentine's Day?
Red. Like
I felt like you were gonna say
a red dress. My imaginary date would be done. He would be done.
I love a red dress. I think if I was going fancy, I would do red. But if it was something more chill, I would probably do pink. Just because I don't really have much red.
Yeah.
Would you rather receive a gift or a handwritten note?
Handwritten note.
Same.
I'm a words master. I love words.
Honestly, I feel like for guys, they're either like, that's the best thing ever because it's free, or it's like their worst nightmare because writing... like
their words.
Yeah.
They're like, what are my words?
It's so funny because I always tell my husband I want that. And I think I might have mentioned this, but he actually he'll write the sweetest notes, but he's not great at doing it on the spot. So like for birthdays or Valentine's Day, it's hard. Like he has to be in the moment and just do it. And so I'll always like save his notes and I'm like, I'm gonna read that on Valentine's Day. But sometimes he can pull it off. But the best notes I've ever received from him were just like on a random day of the week.
Oh,
so I think that might be like a guy thing, or maybe it's just a him thing. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So. Okay, last question. For your Valentine's date, would you rather the guy do a surprise date and you have no idea where you're going, what you're doing, or would you rather he can still plan it, but you know what the plans are?
Surprise me, baby. I want to know nothing. I don't care to know nothing. I want everything to be a surprise. I love surprises.
Yeah.
You just tell me what time I need to be ready, and I'm done. I'm good. I love not thinking. I'm so easy. Brain is off.
But do you want him to give you like a dress code of like be casual, or
yeah, he
like
definitely has to tell me like, and my man will, I know he will. Be like, wear these shoes, or yeah, like dress this. But that's all I need to know. I literally love not knowing. It's actually my favorite thing ever.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would say if I had a rough idea, I think my fear is like if it's a surprise day, like the whole day is a surprise, I don't know what to expect, because I do feel like I've had that happen and I was not prepared. Even it's different. Like when girls tell you what to wear for the day, they know. They're
detailed.
Yeah, they're like, wear this and bring a change of this and bring a jacket.
And bring a ponytail and bring these socks. Don't leave the sandals behind. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And guys are like, wear something casual. What does that mean?
Literally.
And you wear something casual when you're going on a hike. You're like, what?
Fully. So I would say surprise date with the caveat of they're like, we're going to do dinner. I'm telling
We're going to do dinner here at 7 p.m.
Okay, so maybe like part of it's a surprise of like, we're going to do a nice little fancy night. But I also too, I'm like, do I eat before? Do I snack? Like, I need to know these things.
That's actually my biggest thing. Like, I have been on dates with guys and I'm like, you don't understand. You need to tell me. Are we eating? Because I plan my day around being sure that I'm fed. Mm-hmm. I will not go starving. I will not function. I've actually been on a date before, I'm like trying to think, where I thought we were going to eat, and then at the end I was just starving and I was like, what is going on? I'm like, why weren't you thinking of that? Anyways, that's another side note.
Yeah, so I'm going to say surprise, but like my husband knows my version of surprise is like a very altered version.
It's some details in the mix.
Some details. Yeah. Okay, that concludes our Valentine's Day episode. We are so grateful that we got to spend it with you guys. We are hoping you have a beautiful day of love. You celebrate, you tell the people in your life that you love them so dearly, and you can just have a beautiful day spending it with them, whatever that looks like. And we will see you guys in our next episode. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. We pray this episode was encouraging and life-giving. If you found it valuable, please share it with a friend, leave a review, and subscribe.
And be sure to follow us along over on Instagram at With Love Always Podcast. Signing off with all of our love always, Bree
and Marissa.